We all know people who are able to negotiate a better deal on anything, and we envy them. If you've ever thought that you'd want to be more like them, join us as we talk with Steve Blum on the Dollar Stretcher interview. Hi, I'm Gary Foreman, editor of the Dollar Stretcher. With me today is Steven Blum. For over 20 years, a teacher in the Department of Legal Studies and Business Ethics at Wharton School of Business. Steve has just finished a new book, Negotiating Your Investments, Using Proven Negotiating Methods to Enrich Your Financial Life. Stephen, thanks for joining us today.
Well, Gary, it's my pleasure.
Now, I've taken a look at the book, and I know one thing that you talk about, and I guess it's kind of common sense, but we don't seem to do it, is that you say it's important for people to know what you want to achieve before you go into a negotiation. Why is it that you think so many people ignore this important step?
Well, I think that perhaps people rush into a negotiation a little too fast and they don't do enough preparation, and which we may talk about more. But one of the key parts of preparation is saying, what do I really, really want here? Not sort of my first blush idea of what I want, but what am I really trying to achieve?
Now, part of it, extending on to that, is a concept that I'd not come across before called BATNA, an acronym. Can you tell people what it is and how I can use that to my advantage?
I'd be glad to, Gary. It's one of my favorite subjects. So BATNA is an acronym, and it refers to Best Alternative to Negotiated Agreement. And the idea here is this. When you're in a negotiation, there are a lot of possible outcomes in my deal with you, but there's also the question, if our attempt totally fails and I have to go do something else, what else might I do? And we refer to that as our alternatives. And usually there are many, many different alternatives. But the key here is you can't do them all. The one you're going to do if we don't make this deal is your best alternative. So BATNA is your best alternative, and it turns out that if you have a very strong best alternative, almost as good as this deal, then it's very low cost for you to walk away and go do something else, do your best alternative. That makes you powerful in the negotiation. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
And that's so really you want to know what your high end is and what your floor underneath is, and keep the negotiation within those bounds.
Well, I like to use the other language, though. I like to use this language. You want to know, if we don't make this deal, what am I going to do instead? And if that thing I'm going to do instead is almost as good as this deal, I don't need this deal very badly. I can walk away at very low cost to myself, and that makes me powerful. And I was about to say, on the other hand, if I badly need this deal, if my alternative, the thing I will do if we don't make this deal is lousy for me, then I need this deal badly, then I'm relatively weaker in this negotiation, and I might have to compromise more.
Steve, you also talk about raising the bar beyond expectations. How does that work?
Well, setting high goals for yourself is very valuable in negotiation, because what we find when we study negotiation is that when people reach their goal, they kind of let out a sigh of relief and say, it's a deal, and they're kind of done. Sometimes that means we leave a tremendous amount of value on the table. Let me give you an example. This is the classic example from Getting to Yes, which I should mention. It was written by my teachers at Harvard about 25 years ago. Getting to Yes, a fabulous book on negotiation. They talk about two sisters fighting over an orange. They're sisters and they love each other, so they split the orange in half. But as Annie goes out of the room, she's peeling the orange and she throws away the peel. As Betty takes her half to the cutting board, she carefully slices away the peel and throws out the fruit because she wanted the peel to make orange rind cake. So we see that wasn't the best possible deal. But the problem is when the sisters, when they said, oh, we have a way to resolve a dispute, they kind of let the air out. Ah, we're done. And setting higher goals and trying for more tends to result in our getting more.
Now one thing I know seems to trip me up in negotiations, and I suspect it's true of other people too, is distractions. Keeping myself on target, and that is there any way that we can kind of avoid distractions when we're in the middle of a negotiation?
Well, I think there is, and let me start by saying preparation will help you. Preparation is the single most important thing you can do in a negotiation, and good preparation includes creating a set of checklists for yourself, including questions you want to ask, knowledge you want to obtain, and things you want to make sure that you do, and that can include things you want to make sure you don't get distracted or go off in tangential directions.
Now, another thing that you talk about that I would think would be terribly important in being effective is how much to trust your negotiating counterpart, not to either trust them too much or too little.
Well, it's a complicated topic, Gary, but basically you don't want to trust blindly and you don't want to trust foolishly. On the other hand, what you do want to do is build cooperation. So the way good negotiators do this is they make small steps. And if you can do very small trust-building steps, you can work your way toward better understanding of where the other is coming from, and therefore you can find an appropriate amount to rely on the other person, and hopefully they'll rely on you. But you always want to keep in mind, we talked about what you really are trying to do in a negotiation. You want to also give some thought in your preparation and when discussing with the other side, what are they really trying to do? They will tend to take actions that advance what they're trying to do. And so, in the end, most people will tend to be trustworthy if it's in their best interest to be trustworthy, and very frequently will not be if it's not in their best interest. So you need to do some thinking about that, about the other side.
Now, for folks that haven't been successful in the past or haven't tried negotiating, because a lot of people in the United States just aren't used to doing it, is there some easy place that they can kind of dip their toe in the water and find out whether they have it in them to be a good negotiator?
Well, indeed there is. One of the first things that comes up in this book, and came up with my teachers and my colleagues, is that the definition of negotiating is a lot broader than you think it is. So here's a working definition to think about. Anytime you're in an interactive process, you're dealing with somebody else, and they want something from you or you want something from them, that's a negotiation. That means you negotiate all the time, and you negotiate at home, you negotiate with your friends, your partner, your spouse, and you negotiate with your kids. And so the answer to your question, I think, is practice, practice, practice. You have lots of opportunities. And then you can give yourself a few homework assignments, like go to the store and ask for a discount, or try to get your kid to eat their peas. There's plenty of opportunities to practice. Practice will make you better, but of course I also recommend a book or two to kind of get you in the right mind frame, and also to create a structure for how you think about negotiations and how you plan for them.
Now that's a perfect lead-in because we're fortunate to have you here in part because of your new book. Now, negotiating your investments. Tell us a little bit about it, where we can get it, and how it could benefit people who read it and follow the advice in it.
Okay, sure. Well, I think you can get it at bookstores, but it's possible that the best place to get it is through Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com because they discount it nicely. You can go, I blog once a week, and my blog site is www.negotiatingtruth.com. And I welcome people to investigate a little more of my thinking. Let me answer your question, though, about what this book is trying to do and how it can help people. I've been teaching negotiation for over 20 years, and before that I was a graduate student, and I was a student in such classes. I found that learning how to negotiate in the broad sense of trying to get more of what you want and trying to influence other people can be life-changing. So I'm excited about it, and I think it's well worth exploring. That's the first part of my book. It's essentially the course that I've offered, and it owes a great deal to my teachers. The second and third part of my book was an attempt to take these tools, this structure of negotiation, and apply it directly to people's financial lives. I came to realize in the last few years that this set of tools is an excellent one for understanding what is going on with investing and other parts of your financial life. So my great hope for the book is that people will become stronger negotiators in all aspects of their life, and then as they get good with these tools, they will particularly apply them to the questions of how do they invest and how do they handle their money. Those are my great hopes for this book and its readers.
Fantastic, Steve. I really agree with you. Negotiations is an important part of our lives, all the way from whether we get our kids to eat their string beans, all the way up to our retirement accounts, and a lot of places in between. And that we'll have links to Amazon and Barnes and Noble, as well as to Steve's website. We thank Steve for being here today and sharing his accumulated wisdom with us. And we invite all of you to join us again on the next Dollar Structure interview.